This is an example of the kind of structure that I'm referring to. What?
On February 6, 2024, YouTube streamer Vash leaked a folder from his desktop live on stream. This folder seemed to contain questionable and concerning contents, so it got many people riled up. However, I have seen no one cover the files correctly. So I will go through the entire contents in a sincere and what I think is an appropriate manner. I do think it's interesting to dive into the legalities also. But I will not spin a moral police, and I'm not going to speculate about anything we don't see or know for sure. Spoiler alert though, there are some big plot twists. So what exactly was in this folder, named To Be Sorted? To start off with, there is a subfolder named Old, and a Texas folder with what would be his ID, or his driver license to be more specific. Next we have a spicy XXX gifts folder, showing what seems to be a dark-haired woman in front of the door or some other kind of frame. Then there is XXX pics, with what seems like the staircase. Not much to see so far. But then there is the XXX vids folder. And I'm going to save that one for last, because it's a doozy. Then we've got the files, all of which are anime or cartoon style pictures. First, some innocent ones, like these of King Rauru from The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. And this one with Rauru, the steward construct, and Koroks, forest spirits. Then there is this drawing of Aquila Riju, based on Tears of the Kingdom also, in which he's at least 15 years old. But this is clearly a more mature depiction, and it's fairly innocent anyways. As for other innocent images in this folder, there's this one of Inside Job's Reagan Whitley, these with Mitaka Asa and Yoru from Chainsaw Man, and another one with Rauru, in this case with Link as the same race as Zonai. Then we've got a bunch of spicy material, which I will keep dry and censored, no worries. First we have a depiction of Zelda finishing a hand and foot job. The bottom row visible is all from Sora Boy, or not Sora Boy rather. Adult depictions only, like a wetter and uncensored version of this drawing with Mifune Fumiko. This one with Marcy from Dota 2, tied up with a sticky situation. And this one with Higashiyama Komini from Chainsaw Man, but much more sloppy and sticky. The rest of this row are all Dark Willow from Dota 2. All of those, but more wet or stickier. Now how bad can those 4 remaining thumbnails possibly be? Well, from right to left, we have an AI image someone generated with 2 large-chested girls who seem to be well of age in a sticky situation with a horse. Yes, a horse is member dipped into a bucket. Next we have another AI image someone generated, again with a horse and 2 girls in a sticky situation. Basically there is this horse, but with his member visible, and he is humping a girl with these curves, so clearly someone of age. But off to the side there is a girl standing behind the horse on his left, kissing or licking his left cheek. Her head is not as big as it looks here, with her hair poofing out on the back. As for her body, she does have some hips on her, as well as quite a chest, although this may well be her arm. With it being AI generated, it's all a bit detached and out of place, especially when having a closer look. Now on her own, and in comparison with the horse, also keeping in mind her boots, she could well be a petite woman of 4'11", so 150 centimeters or up. But it also makes the other girl a giant of at least 6'1", or 185 centimeters. As is, this girl on the side, at the very least, is in her mid-teens. Next, there is this picture with a girl in a bikini between 2 guys, giving one a blowy and handy. Let's look at the body. To be clear, this may look like her chest, but it's actually her arm, like this. In and of itself, there isn't much to write home about as for this one. She could well be a late teen of age. But actually, this is a depiction of Hololife's Natsiro Matsuri, a virtual streamer and VTuber of 16 years old whose avatar doesn't age. But that it's her would only truly matter if one knows and recognizes her. And there aren't that many identifiable characteristics. This bikini is quite an obscure outfit she wore for her summer event in 2019. Her hair color is different. There are no leaves alongside the sunflowers. She has long eyelashes here, while the streamer doesn't. And it's a side profile, while the streamer's avatar is usually seen from the front. So there really isn't much to go off of. But that does mean she may be her usual age, in which case she is underage here too. Especially considering this was drawn by someone who tends to put underage looking girls in adult contexts. Then we have a picture with two girls with a guy holding up one of them. Going by their bodies first, this girl is definitely of age. But the other girl's chest is much smaller and possibly less developed, I'd say. Her face looks quite young too. And the lower girl's face? Okay, that's a child. But hold on. This version, and once showing this exact face, is what people sourced. But this is not at all what was in this folder. This version didn't even exist in this state, in that someone flipped it to make it align more with the thumbnail. But in the thumbnail, the lower girl clearly has her eyes closed. So let's forget what we just looked at. That's not there. The version in the folder is actually this. She still looks young, but is not nearly as obvious as before. As for the main girl, the expression makes her look a little less young also. But above all, she has a much more mature body here. Her chest having grown at least 2 cup sizes. Look. Having said that, this is actually another depiction of Natsiro Matsuri, in this case with her quote-unquote mother, known as Mamatsuri, and by the same artist as the other picture. There still aren't many identifiable characteristics, except for these simplified versions of the bows she usually wears. So that's that. Or is it? We still have the XXX fits thumbnail left. The video and thumbnail depict this young girl giving head. Now, this actually is a clear and very recognizable depiction of Stocking from the adult anime series Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt. This is what she looks like in the series. And she actually is an adult here, even looking like this. So in this case, if one recognizes her and is familiar with the show, she would be of age. Well, for those who don't know her, Biz obviously looks like a child. Although she does have a bit of a chest, so an early, maybe mid-teen at very best. Now in the video from the folder, she's not portrayed any younger. And although it's partially obstructed by a male member, it does show she has a clearly defined chest, which if anything does add to her age here. So that's that. Now that we've gone over all of it, let's see what the folder is made up of in terms of numbers. All of the known media is in an anime or cartoon style, 23 out of 23. And of those, 8 are innocent and 15 are adult material. 7 of them have characters from Dota. There are 6 images with characters from The Legend of Zelda and 4 from Chainsaw Man. Of the 15 adult ones, 12 contain a big male member, 11 are wet, and 9 are sticky, which seem to be the main 3 themes, for that covers all of them. 3 of them are made by artists who tend to put underage characters in adult contexts, and thus those may be intended as such, with technically half, 2 of the 4 girls in there, being underage. Being 16 years old, in one case possibly portrayed a bit older, and in the other case possibly a bit younger. And, not to forget of course, 2 explicit images, with horses. Now what are the legalities for any and all of those things? Of course it may depend on your jurisdiction. Whitefarge seems to be located in the state of Washington. So it pertains to US federal law and Washington state law. First, as for the act of showing the folder on stream, for that is what this all started with, Something like indecent exposure perhaps, but that is not it. That is about exposing your own or someone else's private parts. And intentionally so. But Washington does define unlawful display of explicit materials. However, it's restricted to showing such to or in physical public spaces. So that does not apply here. But YouTube's community guidelines and content policies do prohibit showing such material, so it would be something for them to pursue if they deemed so necessary. As for the horse images, the production and assistance of real material like that is prohibited by the state, but it does not cover virtual and fictional depictions in which no actual animals were involved. It could be considered obscenity, but that is limited to business practices, except for when it involves minors, like knowingly sending or attempting to send material to anyone under 16. Or, of course, when the media contains depictions of anyone underage, which is the last but certainly not the least point of contention here. Now, it is not to be confused with CP, for that means there is an actual, real underage person involved or depicted, or that is indistinguishable from a real human, which does not apply to drawings or cartoons. But federal law actually does prohibit people from knowingly receiving obscene visual representations as such, including drawings and cartoons, with possession as an additional offense, and in not being required that the minor depicted actually exists. The key would be whether Varsh did so knowingly, knowing those depictions were of an underage character, which would be a very difficult case to make, also going off of the other photo contents. So legally, he is probably in the clear. However, on the flip side, there have been multiple people discussing the contents, sharing it after saying it was bad and that it were underage characters, which makes for a much more difficult defense. It should go without saying that distributing material that you know is bad or illegal is also bad or illegal. So if you wish to share it safely, you better share this video instead. Regardless, I hope it helps you make an informed opinion. Thank you for watching and till next time. Bye bye.
Whoa!